So the next wine I'm going to talk about is actually the only wine within this pack that is not estate grown. And it's funny, a lot of people come in here and say, oh, do you grow all of your own grapes? And the obvious answer is no, we don't. But I don't know if people ask this because they think that if you grow your own grapes, then that means it's better. I mean, we source fruits from the very best vineyards that we believe are out there, and some of those are on our property, some of those are not. I mean, some people just have awesome blocks of land that we think are astonishing. This particular wine does come from one of those, Tranquility Vineyard. This is a vineyard that I was lucky enough to have somebody offer up to me to get some of the Cabernet Sauvignon in 2007. Good friend, I'm sure you guys have seen him around. He's a crazy guy, but off at 8 Chains North. His name's Ben Renshaw. He's the owner of that, but he also manages a bunch of vineyards all over Loudoun County. He's our vineyard consultant here, so he works with Nevaeh and also Tranquility. He's always been the Tranquility Vineyard manager. He planted the vines. He's very intimately knowledgeable about them, and now we lease the entire property. So there's us and just a couple other wineries that we work with. They're good friends, 8 Chains North, Odium Cellars, and Hiddencroft that also get fruit from Tranquility Vineyard. But if you're looking at sites as crew class and all that kind of stuff, this is the site that I think just shines for what we could do a lot of times in Loudoun County with some of the bigger red varieties that you can't always do well. And that's what we look for in some of the vineyards. I mean, you're not going to see me sitting here talking about our shining Cabernet Sauvignon from our Nevaeh vineyard because it is a much cooler site, and we have varying aspects. There's more limestone soils, things like that. That it's not so much a Cab Sauv site as it is a Merlot site and a Syrah site. We also tend to get frost every year between October 15th and October 20th. And the Cab Sauv, some years is there, some years is not. Tranquility, we're always able to ripen it really well. And this particular bottling is 80% Cabernet Sauvignon, and then it's 20% Tannat, which is always going to be in that same sort of realm because that goes based on the acreage in which is there. The Tannat just helps to lift it up, give it a little bit more depth. But it's funny, I've tasted this wine with a few people, and they don't normally call it for a Cab Sauv, but they're not sure what to call it for. They say, it has that structure that you would look towards in a Cab Sauv or Tannat, things like that, but it doesn't have the same obviousness almost. I don't know how else to put it other than it's just got this underlying, very cool feeling to it. And it has some more red berry fruits. It has some forest flory type characteristics like earthy meets fruity and exotic. It's just really kind of a fun wine, and it's not overblown. So when a lot of people are thinking Cab Sauv these days, they think of these monstrous, big, juicy, ripe, hot climate Cab Sauv, and they're missing the past of what Claret was all about elegance of being at the dinner table and things like that. And I think that's more where this sits, but it is just like all of our wines. I mean, it's based on the site and what the site really offers, what we think is a good expression of that. So, I mean, like all of our other single vineyard wines, most of our wines really, I mean, this was done indigenous yeast fermentations, and then just, we chilled out. We just let it rest. It went into 100% new Virginia oak. We generally rack it every 4 months or so to help get a little bit more oxygen there, soften out those tannins, particularly Tannat can be pretty aggressive, and we wanted to make it a little bit more mellow, have it more on that, just good sort of chilled back bass level tones if you're looking at music. I mean, if I was kind of looking at this as a music wine, I would almost think like Icky Thump from White Stripes. I mean, it's got that complexity, it's got that funky bit, and then it's got those bass tones that just hit you, and it has that when they hit you, it's got that intensity, but it's not beating you up too much. It just keeps you happy and smiling and energized. So I don't know why I think that. It's kind of, I think of wine weirdly sometimes and wanted to show it off. Anyway, so let's give us a swirl and snip. It was after 18 months elevage in the barrels. We bottled it, unfined, unfiltered. So pretty much we hardly touched it. We just let the grapes speak for themselves. Great south-facing slope outside of Purcellville. So it's about half an hour away from us. I get to go hang out with Ben and walk around the vineyard and check stuff out all the time. We've actually done a bottling together with him and Hiddencroft called 321, which some of you may know of, some of you may not. I'm sure we'll bring some of those out again soon. That south face slope just gets a lot of sunlight. It's also a fairly windy site, so it can kind of cool out the fruit. It's done in two different training systems, which is interesting. I mean, it's interesting to me. I think it's pretty cool. Within our vineyard, all of ours is vertical shoot position, which just means we have two canes that kind of sit there, and then there's the shoots that go up. So we have roughly 16 shoots per vine, and each shoot can, in theory, carry 2 or 3 clusters. We always cut it back to a maximum of 1 cluster. If it's a weaker shoot, then we just don't carry any fruit on it at all. It's all about the quality, not the quantity. We keep our yields very low. In Tranquility, there's the 2 different types. There's the vertical shoot positioning, which all of that portion comes to us because we are adamant believers in it. And then we also have some stuff that we're doing trials on with Smart Dice. I mean, Ben's a big fan of looking at the Smart Dice and really seeing the differences in, and that has double the amount of shoots, trying to balance some of the vigor of a newer site. It is a younger site than Nevada. The vines are just about 10 years old. So they're still kind of rambunctious. Vines act like kids as they're younger. They're still rambunctious, going crazy, running all over the place. As they get a little bit older, they'll start to get wisdom and just kind of settle down and just do what they need to do. Not saying that I just do what I need to do. I try to work hard all the time. Anyway, let's take a look at this wine and see what's inside the bottle and in the glass now. Now, on the nose, I mean, you can tell that this is a wildly different wine than the Nevaehas in which we try. I mean, it still has the intensity, it has the depth, it has that just crazy intrigue, but it's more red fruit meets blackberry fruit meets this wet leaf kind of thing going on, almost forest floor. You know, when we talk about wine, it's kind of funny. I mean, had somebody come in and I said, "Are you trying to say it smells like moldy leaves?" And I said, "Well, I'm trying to be a little bit more poetic than that." But, you know, wine, we get some of these funny characteristics, and, you know, it is what it is. And I find it very fascinating, and I enjoy it. Everybody has their own thoughts on what they smell in wine, but I find that it's not, what I'm trying to get at with this wine is it's not just a fruit bomb. It's not just this big, massive, fruity, plummy Cab Sauv. It's got so much more going on, and it's all about the site. I mean, we didn't do anything. It was a very cool year, so to get a lot of this ripe fruit in there as well, and blending with these earthy characteristics is a fantastic sign for how good this site is and how well it's maintained. Incredibly intense, though. Full, ripe, but not beating you down. It's not overly heavy. It's not causing me to only want to have a sip and then just sit back. I mean, it makes me want to go back to it. It also has very velvety tannins. I'm a huge fan of the structure of how a wine is, as opposed to just how the flavor characteristics. And this just coats the palate like velvet, and gives a beautiful sensation that has that nice bracing acidity from the 2009 vintage in behind it. It's a fabulous balance. This is actually one of my most exciting wines, I think, for what we made in 2009. It just really strikes me. I can't say enough about it. I can't say enough about the vineyard. It's just such a cool spot. It's only 6 acres, so it's always going to be this small, limited quantities thing, but just awesome at the same time. I really dig this. So yeah, that bright acidity, those velvety tannins, I mean, it's going to pair well with a lot of foods. I mean, this is the type of thing you could sit there and, you know, just relaxing through the Sunday. You've got a pot roast kind of cooking of some local beef chuck from one of these great farms that surrounds Tranquility. I mean, you can have a great local meal and just sip on this